All right, I'd like to welcome everyone to this evening's United States of Hope Warrior Team Hunt program. This evening is what we refer to as our partner forum, and we've got four different organizations that are involved with sportsmen and women and veterans and wildlife. And I want to just take a brief moment here to introduce these folks, and then we'll kind of go around and each of you will give 10, 15 minutes about your organization, and we can ask some questions along the way, keep it interactive, and try to make it as interesting as we can. So I'll start with J.R. Strand. He is our representative from the Montana Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife, and he'll tell us more about that organization. We've got David Williams with us, and he represents Joint Operation Mariposa out of Plains, Montana. Barnabas Coca, he's with the National Wild Turkey Federation, and I don't remember your position there, Barnabas, but you can tell us that when it's your turn. And then we also have with us Curtis Davies, who represents the Outdoor Network International. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you being with us and sharing about your organization. So we'll go ahead, JR, and we'll kick off with you. Tell us more about yourself and about the Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife.
Hey, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Can you guys hear me? I don't know how my speakers work here. Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm J.R. Strand. I live in Missoula. I'm an Air Force vet, and I've been in Missoula since 1977. Hunt, trap, fish, you name it, I do it, and have done it most of my life. And I'm currently president of the Montana Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife. This is a grassroots Montana organization that was started 12 years ago. We're a 501c3 registered with the Secretary of State, and we've got members across the state. Our directors, we're 14 directors, and they range from Huntley, Montana, the furthest east. We're pretty heavy in the west, in the Missoula area, the Bitterroot, up in the lower Clark Fork. So the rest of our directors are pretty much Stevensville, a lot of Missoula, Thompson Falls. We've got Plains and Trout Creek, Arley, North Arley at Ravelli. And so we're kind of scattered around, some out in Tura, east of Missoula. And this group was started after the wolves had been released on the landscape back in the mid-90s or so. And it became apparent to some of our founders who were ranchers that there was no plan at that time for managing the wolves. So the nature of our group started out, and still is, predator management. And when some of our founders start not being able to run cow-calf pairs on their own property because the calves didn't come back, and then others start seeing the decline in elk populations, things like that, they decided somebody needed to do something. So they started the Montana Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife, and they created the mission statement, and I'll read it to you. It's to preserve, protect, and enhance Montana's hunting, fishing, and trapping rights while protecting Montana's rural heritage. And so that's what we're about. And it boils down to the biology of managing predators so that we have good, healthy ungulate populations, that the livestock is not hit so hard. And but we've expanded into a lot of other things too, though that is still our fundamental mission, is predator management. We do a lot of things for kids. We sponsor things for youth shooting sports. We believe the youth are the future. We're all hunters. Most of us also trap, not everybody. A lot of anglers, and we go from real purist fly fishermen to real hardcore walleye fishermen and everything in between, if that's a contrast, I guess. But we've got a lot of folks on our board and our membership. We're real family oriented. We annually do a pig roast as our one fundraiser for the year. We held it in Plains just a few weeks ago at the Sanders County Fairgrounds, and that was a great event. We had a great turnout. And then we attend some sports shows, and we do a lot of stuff during the legislative session. We go over there, we testify on bills. If they're bills that we feel are harmful to hunting, fishing, trapping, things like that, public access, things like that, we go and testify against the bills. If there are things that we feel enhance hunting, trapping, angling, public access, our rural lifestyle, we go and testify in the committees in support of those bills. We don't get real political. We just, because we're a 501c3, so we limit what we do as far as a lot of political things, except we do testify on bills before the legislature. Well, we do a kids ice fishing tournament, and we support it. It's put on by another group at the Frenchtown Pond near Missoula, out at Frenchtown. And we sponsor that and have for many years. We donated $10,000 to the 4-H kids up in Ronan so they could insulate their building where they do their shooting sports for 4-H. And they always had to stop their activities once it got real cold because the building got too cold. So we gave them $10,000 to help insulate the building. They also got some other donations and were able to heat it, and now they shoot year round. We also support the little shooters, the JC's little shooters down in Dillon. And we send them money every year to buy targets and replace their, I think they usually use BB guns or pellets down there. We just supported the Boy Scouts of America Mullen Trail Council and bought them a whole bunch of new BB guns and targets and ammo for their shooting sports events. So those are things we do to support youth. We support the youth trapper camp, which is over near Havre in the Bear Paws. And that's a lot of our activities. We just held a houndsman field trials up Graves Creek on the first weekend in May. We've been doing that for several years. We hosted the Montana State Houndsman Association. It's their event, but we host it over here. So we try to spread around. We work a lot with different organizations to support hunting, fishing, trapping, and Montana's rural lifestyle. So that's kind of what we're about. And we've been around, like I say, 12 years. I've been the president now for 4 years. I've been a member for 7. And just think it's a great group, great family organization. And we're real proud of the things we've participated in and co-worked with different livestock associations like the Marias River Livestock Association, the Rocky Mountain Stock Growers, and some other groups like that too. So that's the main thing, I guess. I'm open for any kind of questions if anyone has any.
JR, in your efforts to manage the predator populations, are you guys offering training for folks that are interested in trapping or hunting wolves? How does somebody that wants to get into more predator hunting, how do they get a little more skill behind them? Because I buy a wolf tag every year and I keep it in my pocket in case I stumble into one. And I think that's probably the vast majority of hunters in Montana. But the folks that are actually harvesting predators, they know how, and they put the effort into learning. And so how can you guys help us other sportsmen?
Well, we've done things like host trapping clinics with a guy by the name of Dan Helterline from up in Plains, who's a pretty well-known wolf trapper. And he's one of our directors also. And he's come down and put on clinics on that. We work with the Montana Trappers Association a lot on their education. We really supported mandatory trappers education. And when that got passed through, Some of us have actually worked on that trapper education curriculum in the years. I've got 2 directors that put a lot of time in that. And so as far as the SFW holding classes, we haven't got into that so much other than some clinics. And when we do that, we promote it through we've come out with a quarterly magazine. It's called Tracks and Trails. In fact, I'm just getting ready right now to take it to the printer at the end of this week. And our cover photo is hunting with some disabled vets on the front, Jana Waller, and Bo, do you guys probably know who I'm talking about, from Billings. He's a Navy SEAL, double amputee. Bo, maybe you know.
I don't know him well. I only have heard of him.
Okay, yeah, and so it's Jana Waller and Bo and the landowner where he took a nice elk. They're on the cover of our upcoming issue. We've donated money to buy track wheelchairs for over east. And this again, Jeff Dara, who's one of our directors, was friends with a fellow named Steve from over by Glendive, and they needed some money to purchase this track wheelchair so he could take guys out hunting, and so we donated money to pay for that, and yeah, we support that. We've got quite a few vets on our board, and so
great.
But yeah, any other questions?
When hunting in February, January, December, whatever, for like wolves, you kind of almost got to have a snowmobile to get access, don't you?
Yeah, it seems like I'm not good at that time of year. I'm that's the access to get back, especially if you're going to run a trap line for them. But hunting them, you still got to have some snowshoes or something to get you back a little bit.
Yeah.
I know if you go up different areas like Fish Creek and places, you might get into them. But most of that, it gets pretty nasty back there in that time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they move through, they come through, and they might not come through again for 21 days or longer. So when you see them, yeah, they're there. That's why the guys trapping, if they miss them the first time they come through, they got 3 weeks or longer probably before those come through again. And that's because they're always on the move. So yeah, it's a challenge.
So
JR,
go ahead.
JR, are you, is this the same group that Don Pay was kind of the one who started out down in Utah? You know
No.
who that is?
And that has been false information for years. We get that all the time. When this started, this was totally started by Montanans. They did talk to Don Pay to get a structural thing to organize it. They didn't agree with anything that was going on in Utah, so we kept it. We changed our name. Instead of being the Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife dash Montana, like they are in Utah and Wyoming, Idaho, Arizona, we went to the Montana Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife. We have zero to do with those guys. We never have, other than talking to them when they first, and that was long before I was on here. But when the guys that did it, you are correct, they talked to him, but we've never been associated with them. We've never had, we don't have an umbrella or parent organization. We're totally independent Montana grassroots organization, but that comes up all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And yeah, I've certainly have been involved with, let's just say the idiosyncrasies or the challenges that the other organization has created in the Utah.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I was just curious whether or not you're part of that or
not. No, I'm glad you just asked that right up, because that comes up all the time. One of my good friends from Lewistown, Dr. Donnell Thomas, who is a great bow hunter, and that I've known him for years. He used to be my doctor. He still doesn't let go of that. And I've talked to him, and it's like, we don't have
part of it.
connection. We don't. But well, yes, when it first was starting and they were trying to figure out what kind of organization they wanted to create, that was a conversation that went on behind with the Utah group on how they structured it. And it didn't take very long, and everyone on that board said, we want nothing to do with those guys. And we were actually, and again, I say we, I wasn't involved then, but they were going to totally change the name to something new, but they'd already come up with the Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife name and that in Montana. So we are as associated with the Utah Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife as much as the Montana Bow Hunters Association is associated with the Utah Bow Hunters Association,
Yeah.
or the Montana Trappers Association is affiliated with the Wyoming Trappers Association. You know, we're all independent. So,
Yeah.
but I'm glad you asked that because I'd like to get that right out there.
Well, when you said you guys are kind of, you know, apolitical, I know those folks aren't. So that's why I was kind
Oh,
of
they're
curious.
not. And they
Yeah,
they
not
do
at
a
all.
lot of things. They do a lot of things that are contrary to what we believe in on
Yep.
you know some of their
Okay.
activities, and that's why yeah, we've tried to keep a long arm away from those guys. Other than the initial conversations when this was created 12 years ago.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Let me
thanks.
ask you this, JR. Idaho just passed a law that allows for reduction of the wolf population by 90%.
Right, but that's not how it really is. So that's a spin. I'll just tell
Okay.
you that. Okay, but go ahead.
Clarify what you know of the law and where the Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife fall in on something like that in Montana.
Okay. The law says that they can get the wolves reduced down to what the original management objectives were.
Okay.
That
Yep.
would be 90%.
Right.
But it did not say they're going to try to get to reduce the wolves down to 90% down. And that's where there's a little fine thing on the way it's being spun. Oh, Idaho's trying to kill it 90% of their wolves. No, they want to get it to objective, and what the objectives were, the same as we want in Montana. And of course, if you studied the wolf issues in the very beginning, they were talking about a certain number of breeding pairs and a total number of wolves of 150 wolves in Montana. That's what the objectives right in the Montana Wolf Management Plan. I think it was 2003 or something. I can't remember the date on that plan. And that, you know, we've got over 1,200 wolves, which is a lot more than 150 at the objective. So that's what we support is, hey, let's get this down. Let's get the biology going here. Let's knock the wolf population down. But what we're finding is you can't hardly put a dent in it. No matter how many wolves they take, the population's still growing. Because they're so hard to take. You know, to shoot them, hunters hardly take any. I mean, they take some, obviously. They had a super long season for hunting from September 1st all the way to the middle of March or so. And they took less than half of what the trappers took in a month and a half to 2 months, you know, on that trapping season. So that was something that we've fought for, is a little more time for trapping. But we do want to knock the population down. We do not want to eradicate wolves. Our goal is not to make them, you know, we want to stay way above anything that would cause the U.S. Fish and Wildlife to say we need to step in and put them back on the threatened list. But we do want to take wolves, and that's what we started and what we do.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Barnabas.
Sorry, but JR, I was just gonna say, I live in Idaho and I'm with you 100%. Look, you can say all that you want. You're gonna take or want to take 90% of the wolves, but
Right.
unless you bring back DDT, you're not killing, you know, you're not gonna be able to. I mean, there's just not enough hunters. There's not enough trappers. There's not enough ways and means to be able to knock that many out. If we knock back 50%, I think that would be a huge success in Idaho this, you know, next
Yeah.
couple of years. But I'm not so sure we can even do that.
I don't think you can, and I don't think Montana can. And well, in fact, I'm sure without going to the radical stuff that we all oppose, and that would be poisoning and things like that.
Right.
It's just not through hunting and trapping. You're just not going to do it. Not going to do it.
In your
And
opinion,
so-
if they were to remove the treat wolves like coyotes, just like a varmint, would that have any impact above what's being harvested right now?
Well, I think there'd be more wolves taken, but it wouldn't impact the overall. I think the population would still grow. I mean, look at coyotes. They grow and grow and grow. And years and years and years ago, I was in the oil business down in Casper, Wyoming. And I read a study from out of Laramie on the coyotes down there. And they said you had to take 75% of the coyotes that were in existence to keep the population at level. They said you still, if you took 75% of the coyotes every year, the other 25%, and they're reproducing, would have the populations right back up. And the wolves are bigger and there's other things. It's a similar thing. And they're finding that, and I've read a lot on this. I don't know if any of you guys have ever read the Real Wolf book by, Ted Lyons. It's a great book. It's a big scientific study on the wolves. And he was a guy that wasn't really into taking wolves, didn't think they were an issue until he got into it. And he found out that, yeah, it's real big. He's an attorney from down in Texas, and he was one of the key guys to help get him delisted once he got into this. But anyway, the long story short on this was that the whole thing about being alpha male, alpha female, they're the only ones that reproduce in a pack. They're finding that's not actually accurate. There's other pairs that are mating. There's other issues going on, and some of these packs have multiple litters, and so it's hard to knock the population, and they're hard to get anyway. They're hard to find. They're hard to harvest, and to get them to put a real dent in their population just isn't going to happen. And so, but I know there's a lot of folks who'd like to go. We have not supported that. We haven't opposed it, but we haven't actually been active supporting putting them in the realm of a coyote. But we are for opening up a little more. We got through the Montana legislature this year. We got the season expanded a little bit on the front end, on the back end, and that'll help. And Idaho's got a pretty liberal season on it, but they can't really knock the population. I mean, they're not knocking the population down really.
Right.
So they've even got an organization over there called Foundation for Wildlife Management. And they were created 11 years ago, where they are able to reimburse trappers and hunters of wolves for your expenses. They don't pay you for like a bounty on wolves. What it is if you go to prepare the wolf trap or whatever, and you keep all your receipts from your purchasing traps or ammo or whatever, you keep all your receipts. And if you have a legally harvested wolf, you can turn in receipts to this private organization and they will reimburse you for your expenses. But it has to be certified by the Fish, Wildlife and Parks or Fish and Game in Idaho that it was a legally harvested wolf, and they give you verification of that. And you turn that in with your receipts and they'll reimburse expenses. We just got that passed in Montana. And so there's already been 2 chapters of the Foundation for Wildlife Management started in Montana, one in Plains at Sanders County chapter, and one up out of near Marion. It's the Flathead chapter. And we did support that big time. In fact, we just made a $10,000 donation to the Foundation for Wildlife Management to help those Montana chapters get off the ground. So
Very good. Very good. Thank you, JR. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for listening, and
Yeah.
thanks for the good questions.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll move on to Curtis. Curtis, do you want me to kind of open with that little video?
Sure. That's a great way to open up. You can show it. I would appreciate that.
1 second here. I'm going to share my screen. And this one. All right. You guys see kind of trees in the background there?
Yep.
All right.
We are out in the middle of nowhere, to be perfectly honest with you. Roughly an hour from a decent sized town, 2 hours from solid emergency room medical care. We're out northeast of Winnett, Montana, on the Muscle Shoals River. We're just south of the Missouri Breaks. It's a very famous area. Probably some of the best hunting in the lower 48 states. People trickle in at the beginning of the season, and then they're here off and on for about 10 days. It's a servant organization. They just want to help people. So If you can come for 2 days, come for 2. If you can come for a week, come for a week. Outdoor Network International is a faith-based organization that just wants to support people. This camp's been going about 20 years. I've been associated and affiliated for about the last 5 or 6 years or so. We found that there was a hole. There was a lot of children's organizations. There were a lot of veterans organizations, but there were a few organizations that catered to both. It's that servant leadership they wanted to have. So when we found out that a lot of them, when they're wounded, they can't serve anymore in the capacity they used to serve, what they can do now is they can still serve these children out here in a hunting and outdoor environment. And so when they come back out here and these children don't know about the outdoors, they don't know about navigation, they don't know about hunting. A lot of these guys are really good in that area, and we've been able to use that as a conduit to serve the children and to serve the veterans.
All right. So that was Trey Ardis. He works at Magpul and is a big advocate and supporter of the Outdoor Network International. And that's Curtis is here this evening to tell us more about that. Curtis, I'll turn it over to you. I think you're muted, Curtis.
How about now?
There you go. We got you.
So down here in this corner, my name is not Samsung. So I'm Curtis Davey. I'm one of the volunteers at Outdoor Network International. My son is now 25 years old. He went on his first hunt when he was 13 years old with Outdoors Network. Invited by Bill Von Lanken, who's, for lack of a better term, the executive director. We're a loosely run nonprofit 501c3 that operates out of Missoula, Montana, where I am right now, and I live here. I'm a resident of Montana since 1977. Moved here to go to the University of Montana and never left. I'm married to a fifth generation Montanan, and my son is sixth generation. I'm an interloper. I was in the Air Force on the West Coast, California, and escaped there to come up and enjoy the wilderness and the outdoors of Montana. Outdoors Network, which is a faith-based organization that Steve has mentioned, we're not making people who want to come out and experience hunting in Montana or our Alaska facilities to be, a card-carrying member of the Christian faith. They don't have to know the secret handshake or the password. We're into making relationships with people. And after that, if we can restore, rescue, and transform lives, that's our whole goal. But we're catering to veterans and to kids. And with this unique opportunity to put those two groups together, we have seen some powerful life-changing experiences with these veterans and kids with special needs, maybe kids who are socially, economically disadvantaged from single families, either don't have the means or the opportunities to go out into the field, and we give them that opportunity to train, to bring them up with ethics and to experience the outdoors. And as I said, we have a place in Montana, in eastern Montana, and Steve helped last year. We are growing this facility that you saw in those pictures from satellite pictures, drone pictures. We were staying in tents, and when it gets cold there, it can be pretty cold. And Steve is helping us build a couple buildings. We have one cabin. We have a large cook shack, and so most of our guests stay in wall tents, but we're trying to bring that up because we also want to encourage women and young ladies to participate. They're needing a little more accommodations to their way of living, and so we're trying to build these cabins so that they'll have showers and bathrooms, flush toilets. But we've also got a place in Alaska. And we have what's called Miracle Bay on Prince of Wales Island. We owned a part of an island off of Prince of Wales Island. It's very remote. It's very hard to get to. We have opportunities for fishing and for hunting, and mostly it's ecotourism, whale watching, bird watching, activities like kayaking, canoeing, outdoor adventure in a very remote place. So I just got back from a month of a work crew up there. We try and put veterans, we get a lot of veterans who help out with these projects. And we'll have guys with limited mobility, maybe wheelchair bound, and we can accommodate them. And they want to come and they want to serve and they want to help us build these buildings, and any way they can help. So we're giving these groups in 2 different places the opportunity to share in a unique experience, the outdoor, the awe-inspiring nature of the wilderness and the outdoors. We're giving kids opportunities to be the next generation of hunters, and so we're putting those 2 groups together. We have several organizations that I'd like to give a shout out to. We have Sean Patrick in the Flathead Valley. He has an organization that's called Evoke Changes, and he works specifically with the outdoor hunting therapy and outdoor ethos for recovery of veterans. And he has been out with some of his veterans. Ty Bathurst, who's out of Florida, he has SEAL Future Foundation. And as you know, a lot of these SEAL team members coming out have seen things that none of us could never imagine. And they're having a harder time integrating back into society. As others are working with suicide prevention, SEAL team members have a real high rate of suicide. So Ty has been bringing some hunters out with us. We also have a relationship with HAVA, Honored American Veterans of Field, and also with the VA Center in Kalispell. Adam Jones last year jumped through all the government hoops. Even though we are a faith-based organization, the government was going to allow veterans from the VA Center to be able to participate with our faith-based organization. Last year it was a wash because of the COVID, and those guys coming from Kalispell out to Petroleum County and on the Muscle Shell, they couldn't do it because of a government snafu about coming from a high population or a high COVID rate to a county that only had like 12 people who had COVID last year, but they couldn't do it. This year, we've got the opportunity to bring them out there, and already we have 70 hunters that are going to be coming to our camp that you saw in those videos, in that video. So we are going to have this year at least we've had 600 people come through our camp up in Alaska over the last 5 years, and we're averaging about 60 to 70 hunters come through our camp in eastern Montana. Now, one of the things that, like I said, we're not thumping the Bible to these guys. We want to make sure that there is no restriction on them being able to come out and hunt, and either in Alaska or Montana. We'll figure out ways to get them, and their faith or finances are not a deterrent for them to be able to come out there. We keep our costs low. We enjoy a well-organized adventure, anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks, and we have an opportunity to serve our veterans, serve those who are less fortunate, and be able to work with children, women who may not have the opportunity to come any other way. And so Outdoors Network International, its motto is share the adventure. And with the operative word within our title, network, we're networking with all kinds of organizations. And this opportunity today to meet all you guys and to hear your stories is what the network is all about, and how we share through word of mouth what we're doing. That's the best way to be able to expand our influence on a activity, hunting in particular, that is shrinking. And we want to make sure that we can make that an opportunity for anyone, regardless of their ability to pay or whatever their faith is. They can be Gnostic or atheist, that doesn't matter. That's not a limiting factor for them to participate in this. So we have shared values, all of us serving veterans. The common effort mostly is hunting, and we all support wildlife through the purchasing of our tags. I buy a wolf tag and carry it in my pocket for only that I'm just supporting the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks and the study of that animal. I've never harvested one myself. We also have this hunting heritage that we're trying to promote, and so through Outdoors Network International, we're reaching a lot of people, and everyone probably has a nickel in their pocket. Outdoors Network has $2 million worth of assets in the property that we own in eastern Montana and in Alaska, but we haven't got 2 nickels to rub together. And but I bet each one of you has a nickel, and so let's get these nickels together and start rubbing. So thank you very much, Steve, for this opportunity to be able to share with like-minded people about what we're trying to do with the veterans and the wilderness and the conservation of our lands.
Excellent. Thanks, Curtis. Any questions for Curtis? All right, great.
I was gonna comment that Muscle Country is just amazing.
It is.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed when you showed that, and I lived in Lewistown for a lot of years, and I'd go over east toward Jordan and win it. And nice country over there, the Muscle Shell is.
It is amazing. There are opportunities for upland game, birds, turkeys. You've got elk, deer, both whitetail and mule deer, and there are there's amazing herds that are out there.
Yep.
And I have a story. When I was over there last August, or was it September? Either way, we're building this cabin, and we're all staying together in one cabin, and everybody snores. So the second night, I went out and I slept on the deck of the new cabin we were constructing under the stars. And there's a reason Montana is called the Big Sky State.
Right.
It's pretty spectacular when you're that far from any natural light to
There's
it's a yeah, go ahead and speak into the mic and turn off my video there, Curtis. So show that again.
Well, here, let me show you. Steve's contribution was immense in that he helped in every way, framing, putting up the walls, doing all of the work, getting the foundation in, and it was a major project. So we're going to try and build 5 cabins. And so we've got one completed. We started one in the spring. We had a wall laying down on the floor, and that night, a gust of wind picked this wall up and threw it against a tree and destroyed the wall. So unfortunately, we lost a couple days work. So there's
Back it up just a bit there, Curtis. There
we go. So that'll give you an idea of how big the cabin is. And we're, like I say, we're building several cabins in eastern Montana, we've already got 4 cabins, a barn with 3 apartments, and a lodge in Alaska. And so we're in Alaska, we're already set up. And one of the projects that we just finished was building an octagon. And this is one of the structures that we just built in Alaska. And we've got 4 cabins out there, a lodge, and this is kind of a.
Oh, now we got video of you guys climbing down off the roof. Look at that.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing.
So that's cabin
Oh,
number
now we got
1.
video of you guys climbing down off the roof. Look at
That is, it's all wheelchair accessible. We're working on a dock that's going to have a Hoyer lift that's going to be able to, because we have to boat people from the Prince of Wales Island where Kaufman Cove is. There's a marina there, and then we have to cross the cove to our little island, and we're going to use special adaptive equipment to be able to get people with limited mobility, special needs, and they can participate in all the activities that a able-bodied person would be able to.
That's great, Curtis. Thank you.
That is awesome.
Thank you.
Oh yeah,
All
and
right.
you're all invited.
Yeah.
You want to go?
One day I'm going to Alaska with you. No.
Just type in Miracle Bay or Outdoors Network International, and you'll get all the information you'll need on either a Facebook page or we got a website. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Curtis. Barnabas, tell us about the National Wild Turkey Federation.
Yeah, sure, Steve. Actually, you know just a little bit about it, I think, too. But first of all, I'd like to introduce myself to you gentlemen and lady. My name is Barnabas Coca. I am the Director of Field Operations for the National Wild Turkey Federation. I handle 19 states, basically in the West. So if you took a line from the east side of North Dakota and drew it all the way down through Texas and West, that's the area that I cover or supervise. I started as a regional director out of the Black Hills of South Dakota, where I went to school there and grew up, not my whole life, but my teenage years there. And so then I ended up deciding that I wanted to go west, which made a lot of sense to me, where I could hunt archery elk every year without having to worry about drawing a tag every 20. And so I ended up here in Idaho. But just to give you a quick brief, I guess what we are about, the Turkey Federation, we were founded in 1973. And at that time, there was about 1.3 million turkeys in all of North America. And then after, a lot of work with, the state agencies and our volunteers, we got that amount up to 7 million turkeys and growing and plus in a lot of areas. So we're science-based, and we're behind the conservation part of it and also behind the hunting part of it. And again, it's not just about turkeys. If I'd had to just rely on turkeys in the West, I think I'd have starved trying to get people to support us. But it's about a lot of other things that we do. And I guess that's just one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about is we've got what's called a Wheeling Sportsman program, and we've got a Women in the Outdoors program. We've got the Jakes, which is a youth program. So we've had that going on for years. And again, we've been here since 1973. I can tell you, we facilitated $488 million in wildlife conservation, since we started. And, we've introduced over 100,000 people to the outdoors each year. So the mission statement is the NWTF is dedicated to the conservation of the wild turkey and the preservation of our hunting heritage. And then, we had this program called Target 2000, which at that time in the 90s, in the early 2000s, it was about trying to get turkey populations stable, as many places that had the ability to handle them with the habitat on that. And we thought we did a pretty good job of that. Matter of fact, we've got turkeys where there wasn't turkeys even before we came over to this country. And so we've got right now turkeys in 49 out of the 50 states. The only place we have never attempted to relocate, or that wouldn't be relocating, but putting turkeys in, would be in Alaska, because they're non-native. They're not interested in having them up there, and they feel that they would cause more issues and problems than anything else up there. But after we got done with the Target 2000, we went on to what was called Save the Habitat, Save the Hunt. So that is conserving or enhancing 4 million acres in a 10-year period, recruiting 1.5 million hunters, and accessing $500,000 acres in additional hunting for folks. And that's also part of the problem that we have right in this country with a lot of folks. We're pretty blessed out here in the West, but there's a lot of people out there in the East and in the Midwest. They don't have places to go, and if they do have a place to go, there's 50 other people sitting there, underneath the same tree. So we're pretty lucky to live where we do, and so part of us trying to get more access to more individuals so that they have a better quality of a hunt. But we have like mentor pledges also. So if you're an NFTF mentor, we kind of challenge you to take a mentor pledge, which means taking kids out. And we also have a scholarship program for all seniors. We want to we do that on a local, state, and national level. So we try to get a lot of folks, kids. You got to have a hunting license. You have to be a member of the NWTF. That's the only two criteria, and then you put in your application, and we do that all over the country. I will tell you that we did start the Sportsman's program in the October of 2000, and this is basically the NWTF recognized the need to help people with disabilities that enjoy outdoors by participating in hunting and shooting sports. The NWTF presents participants with an opportunity so they can get out there and hunt on their own. And if they don't have the access, we try to help them with the access of it. And I can tell you that there's a lot of unique ways that's been done. But one of them, back in 2001, the spring of 2001, was your very own Steve Dibdahl here. And if I slide back and I pull this plaque off the wall, and show that's a very young Steve Dibdahl and a lot skinnier Barnabas Coca there, and we participated in a hunt that Steve was our chapter president up there in Sandpoint, and he put together and those guys did an amazing job of making the ability of getting out this young man. His name was Alex, and Alex was legally blind, and he also, I believe, had another condition, I think like cerebral palsy or something like that. I know. Yeah, he was not able to really hold his gun steady. And so, Steve and the committee there, they figured it out. They put on an addition to the wheelchair that he had, and they had an extension on it. And Steve, if I'm messing up anything, you straighten me out. And then they had a shotgun. And then what they did with the shotgun was they had an extension kind of off the shotgun, and then they put a red dot scope on that thing. And so at that time, I was able to sit behind Alex and call the turkey in, and then I would look through the red dot scope, and that was lined up then with Alex's barrel to be able to shoot. I can remember that when we were out there, we called in about, 10 jakes. And if you guys have done any turkey hunting, 10 jakes, their heads are like this, and so I really wanted him to get a turkey, but I didn't, especially on film, and being a new employee for the NWTF, want 8 dead turkeys after he got done pulling the trigger. So we had to let all the turkeys go, and I was pretty sad about that, but we were able to convince one of them to come back. And lo and behold, Alex was able to shoot that turkey, and he went over, and he obviously couldn't see it, but he would feel it, and he felt the feathers, and And I think it was a real empowering, a real fantastic, and thing that he was able to, I think, probably take with him for the rest of his life, because I don't know how many more opportunities he had with that. But real kudos for Steve and for the, that committee to be able to do that. And it was in my blood from then on out. I mean, I was hooked on just trying to get folks to be able to do those kind of things. And my job is more about fundraising, but my fundraising allows volunteers, like Steve was, to be able to go and be able to do that kind of thing, and to have that experience, and to have those young people.
There's not
experience
much
that.
more rewarding than helping somebody like that. I mean,
No,
hey, that's still, it touches
Yep.
my heart, and it was a great time. We were able to get six disabled young men out into the field, and all 6 of them harvested birds. Now that was a lot of work on a large number of people to scout and secure permission for these hunters, and it was an awful lot of fun on all ends of that, and it was great to have Barnabas come out and join us with that, and we had other folks from Primos and Quaker Boy, and then a couple friends and myself. We were out. Some of them we were done on the first morning. Some of them it was Sunday night on that weekend when they harvested their bird. But it was great.
pretty special stuff, Steve. And I can tell you, I've been an employee with the NWTF for 22 years now, and that's still one of my highlights, if not the highlight of my career. So I thank you guys for putting that together and inviting me. But I can tell you also, we've got young men that work for me right now that are like, it's Jason Tarwater is the name of the gentleman out of Montana that handles Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming, which was my original area that I was hired for. And this, like a lot of young millennials, they're on this TikTok stuff. They do all these short video clips. They know a lot about how to get that stuff out to a lot of people on social media. And he's got the right heart for it too. He's got a biology background, but he's a fundraiser. And he took out 2 hunters just this last spring. One of them was an older veteran, a Vietnam vet. He was a triple amputee. And we partnered him up with a younger vet who lost his leg from Iraq. And both of them were able to harvest birds. The younger gentleman, it was his first turkey ever harvested. He had never been turkey hunting. And for the older gentleman, it completed his grand slam. And for those that you guys that may not know what that is, that means all the 4 subspecies. There's actually 5 now in America, but the grand slam is 4 of the 5 subspecies of wild turkey. So again, pretty cool stuff. We're doing a lot of neat things with it, and we're looking forward to that. But I'll tell you, there's also a really huge component of it with the stewardship initiatives that we have. So we work with the Forest Service, the state agencies, the private timber companies, and we are, managing through our biologists a ton of timber sales to try to get a little bit more of, timber management out there, because let's face it, we need more of that, especially on national forest land, if we're going to have fire, catastrophic fire issues, which we've been having, and those kind of things. And again, for those of you who don't know, Steve in his former years used to be a timber guy. I know, worked for a sawmill company, and so he understands the value of that. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, and we do have, again, 2 separate factions, which is going to be the biology side of it, the biologist and my counterparts. And then I also, we do the fundraising, and we try to get the most amount of dollars for fundraising so we can hand it to biologists so they can take and multiply those dollars. So that's all I've got right now, unless there's any questions.
Thank you for that, Barnabas. We're going to move on quickly to David here and try to wrap him up. He's got other things he needs to get to. Maybe I should have started with you, David. I apologize for that.
It's all good. Just a second. Hey, guys, can you quiet down, please?
All right. Well, tell us
Nope,
about
I thought I was muted.
Operation Mariposa there, David.
Okay, so Joint Operation Mariposa is a small organization, but we tend to increase our footprint from time to time. Up here in Sanders County, there's a lot of ranches that are being subdivided up. So Steve was able to hunt with one of my friends in his property this spring with my son, Sam, and one of Steve's friends from up in Thompson Falls. Okay, so we're working for this. You know, I've been trying really hard, except for a lot of these ranches that are going under, or not going under, or selling out for development, or a lot of the people that I'd been working with to get hunting opportunities up here. So them being subdivided up is a problem. There was some consolidation by a private investment group that kind of bought up everything around, like Pat's Knob up here. So these are some of the opportunities we've lost up in here, but I'm still reaching out to the other end of the county for hunting opportunities up there. But basically what outside of hunting, what Joint Operation Mariposa does is we're bringing basic services for veterans up here in Sanders County. We don't have a veteran service office or anything like that. So my organization bridges a lot of that. So veterans, you know, have a source to go to. Hopefully here soon, Steve's aware of a couple of meetings that we've been set up with that we worked really hard to get, and hopefully we can start seeing movement on that. So some of the things we've done is like bring a columbarium to the cemetery up here in Plains. And what a columbarium is where you store cremated remains. And so we focus on one project at a time at Joint Operation Mariposa because we're so small and it's easier to direct funds into that area. I've been with Warrior Team Hunt program now for, this will be the second year. What else you want there, Steve? Pardon?
The Freedom Float.
Oh, yeah. In August, we have a Freedom Float. You guys are all invited to do this. It's a long, slow float from Paradise, Montana down to Plains. We have a barbecue at the end, and the whole idea is for you to bring your families. This isn't all about the vet. This is all about the family. Joint Operation Mariposa, when we do things, we try to include everybody. From the smallest person up to the biggest. It's like earlier, you probably seen two lovely young ladies over my shoulder. That's Haley. She's my assistant. Here she is. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Haley.
So Haley is an excellent shooter. Sorry for Rowdy there. Haley is an excellent shooter. She is not a hunter. We tried to incorporate her last year into hunting, and she didn't have it in her heart to do it. But if I were ever to go shooting on a competition team, this is the young lady I would take with me. She burns them out at 200 and 300 yards in a pattern that's probably only about 3 inches, you know, and that'll be about 8 rounds, you know, at 8 rounds downrange. And I'm really impressed with that. She's very good. She's very talented. She's also an artist like I am. The other young lady, Chloe, come here. Chloe's vying because Haley graduates next year. So Chloe, she's going to turn into one of my assistants. Isn't that right? So we can go do things. You're going to go hunting with me, right? Okay. So we got one little one that's ready to go hunting with us. We're just waiting a little bit longer before we take her out. So,
David.
Pardon? Okay, so Santa Socks is a program that we worked with USOH down there. And from there, we've just kind of adapted it to our own needs up here in Sanders County. We create socks for isolated vets. We have a lot of World War II vets that are, you know, like still live out in the woods on the ranch. A lot of times their kids have already passed away. So we are their only contact throughout the day. I get calls in the middle of the night to come up and make sure the oil's going in, you know, in the stove and stuff like this. So And these are a lot of the people that are really willing to have us come up and hunt. But due to a lot of the things going on around us, they're getting kind of boxed in around the ranches. And, you know, a 200-acre ranch, a lot of people are concerned about you shooting on it. Whereas you used to be able to shoot on that 200-acre ranch because there's nobody here. And now there's quite a few. So the Santa Sox program, when we took over on that, so it's for, you know, lonely and isolated vets that we got out in our community here, as well as there may be an older portly gentleman that, you know, has a loud mouth and also possesses a red suit. So what we do with a lot of vets in our community is during the summertime, and on the 18th, we're having a painting for a purpose class. We've invited Steve. You guys are all invited. It is a fundraising event. And what we do is we have veterans that are willing to make simple wooden toys, or if they're into sewing, make simple cloth teddy bears and dolls. And what we do is when they come visit Santa, instead of just getting, you know, candy cane, they can pick out one of the toys. It's usually a little truck, a tractor, a doll, and a teddy bear. So older people in our community do a lot of the sewing for it. A lot of our vets are the ones making the toys for this. You guys are more than welcome to join in if you'd like. We're all about the simple, easy. Think turn of the century, 1800s into the 1900s, you know, and this is kind of what we're trying to do. The schoolhouse that we used for the Santa's workshop was actually built in 1890. So that's just kind of our motif for the Santa Sox.
David, I know you mentioned the columbarium up there. Tell us some of your more senior residents of your cemetery. What wars were they serving in?
Okay, so we've got one gentleman from the Spanish-American War. We've got, I think it's in the Plains Cemetery, 8 gentlemen that fought in the Civil War on both sides. There's actually up in the Thompson Falls Cemetery, 2 friends from the Civil War, one for the South, one for the North, and they're actually buried next to each other. They ended up being lifelong friends after the war.
Montana, little town, has 8 Civil War veterans.
Yes.
Burned there. I found that David showed me that cemetery and his columbarium, and I just thought that was pretty spectacular for a little bitty town in Montana to be home for some Civil War veterans. I thought that was cool.
There's one Spanish-American or Spanish War veteran up there as well.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
You find there's a lot of individuals there that served with the Army Cavalry in the late 1800s, early 1900s. They're up there. So this town's got a long history. And, you know, it's kind of the reason I like it up here. If you don't know what a columbarium is, that's where you store someone's cremated remains.
Looks like a large postal box array.
A black cube.
Yep.
So, and then when you go up there, you etch their names on it. It's kind of reminiscent to the Vietnam War Memorial, where the names are carved into the black granite. And that's kind of the whole idea from it.
Great. Awesome.
So some of the other things we do, we connect like grade school kids with some of my artwork. And this artwork is actually pre-designed to go into military units where we encourage them to write letters back and forth with the kids and interact with the kids. So they kind of meet the vets, you know, the heroes that they hear about, they actually know one, you know, and they get to come back to the school after the military units frame the painting. What else? That's pretty much our main purpose right now is to get a veteran service office here in the community. And that's what we work the hardest on currently.
That's awesome.
Well, small organization, we brag a lot. No, just kidding.
Well, you're getting a lot done up there, David, and we love that you guys are so productive for a small community and small organization. You guys are getting a lot done, so we love that. Love that.
Before you kick me off here, I am a National Archives artist. If you guys would like to host an event where I come down and teach you guys a group that you guys have put together, I'd be happy to interact with you guys. Joint Operation Mariposa, that's what we're about. Joint operation in military terms means everybody comes together to do the same job. And that's kind of what we're doing here. So if you guys that are talking tonight would like to get a hold of me, Steve's got all my contact info. Be happy to talk to you. Possibly donate some artwork for you. And also come and hang out with you guys and paint with you if you'd like.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, guys. I gotta go. I gotta entertain some young people and teach them a painting.
Great. Thank you, David.
God
Appreciate
bless.
it.
Yep.
See you soon. All right. Everyone, I really appreciate the conversation this evening. Is there anything that you feel you need to add here at the end that we may have missed previously? Okay, well, go ahead, JR.
I was just going to say, I appreciate being invited.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot listening to the other organizations, and it's a great event tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. And as Curtis said about his network, we're not in this to compete with anybody. We're in here to help serve. You know, our organization, United States of Hope, was originally focused on veterans, but with our Warrior Hunt program, we are expanding that just like everyone to youth, to further the hunting heritage and the ladies. Just, you know, there's a lot of women out there that wonder what this whole sport is about, and they may not get it until they experience it, and so it's really pretty neat when you're out there with some young people on their first hunt or ladies on their first hunt, and that, you know, whether they're successful or not, they enjoy that time out, and that's what we're here to facilitate. I think all of us have that same goal and vision, and that's why I wanted to bring everybody here and call it our partner forum, because I think we all do share in a common mission. So, and I want to thank you guys all for that. Curtis, the Outdoor Network International, and JR with the Montana Sportsmen for Fish and Wildlife, and Barnabas, the National Wild Turkey Federation. I think you guys are part of some really awesome organizations, and I love hearing about what you do. And I really appreciate you sharing with us this evening.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks for let me be a part of this, Steve. And yeah, it's the neat part about it for me is just that, you know, I think we all have the same heart, like you said, and you don't get into this business or this line of helping unless you have that heart of wanting to help other people, especially in the outdoor industry, and just the passion we have for it. So it's if we don't pass it along, it's not going to be around, and so that's why it's important to all of us, right?
absolutely. Great. Well, again, thank you all, and thank you for watching. Brad, did you have any questions? Christina, anything you guys wanted to have answered before we sign off here?
Oh, I'm good.
Great. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and close this up. Thank you all, and we will talk to you next week. We'll have our landowner forum where we hear from landowners about what they like to see in hunters and fishermen that access their private properties. So join us again next week. Thank you so much. We'll talk with you soon.